Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time I pulled out another batch of paperbacks from my collection. We've got some Saint books, we've got some Alfred Hitchcock and the Three Investigator books. We've even got some 70s photo novels. So quite a variety of books to have a look at today. Different shapes, different sizes. We're going to give them all a once over, make sure they're all super clean and then get them bagged. So sit back, relax and let's get to it. Okay then, so we're going to start off with these Leslie Charteris Saint books. Now these, I am pretty sure, have all been sort of cleaned. I remember cleaning these, I think. Yeah, I'm sure I have, yeah. But they have been on the shelf for a little bit of time, so I'm going to give them a brush off. I dug out my photo novels from the 70s, and I don't think they've been cleaned, so we're going to give them the once over as well and then get them bagged up. But these old Hodder ones, they never really survive in great shape. I've got 6 in this size, and these were the original ones before they went to like traditional paperback size. Now I'm hoping, I haven't tested these yet, so I'm hoping that they fit in ordinary digest bags, because if they don't, the next biggest thing I've got is comic bags. So that looks like it's going to be absolutely fine in actual fact. So that's no problem at all. Yeah, that's no problem. So these are the only really sort of larger books we've got to do today. Everything else, I'm confident, well, reasonably confident, will go into a normal paperback bag. I have got some Chevron paperbacks, which I've only got a handful of those. It's not really a publisher I'm that fussed about, but I've got them as part of my sort of Penguin competitor collection, if you know what I mean. Other sixpenny publishers who were around at the time of Penguin. But these Hodder and Stoughton Yellow Jackets, and these are really quite famous. And although I've only got this smattering of them, I've never really bothered to collect them. They did have a few decent authors in there, Max Brand for his westerns, John Buckham there, you see, Zane Grey, Oppenheim, Patricia Wentworth, Edgar Wallace. So loads of big names, in actual fact, of the day. But I've never really collected them, and I don't quite know why I never got into them. I think possibly because it was difficult to determine which ones were first editions. I'm not aware, in actual fact, of any specific checklist for Hodder and Stoughton Yellow Jackets, but there must be one, and there must be a way to identify them. I suspect it's probably with the adverts that are on the back. That is how people would see which printing they were, But as I said, I'm no expert. I've got these Saint ones because I do like the Saint. And one of my viewers, when I started the other channel quite early on, actually gifted me a little pile of Saint books. I don't think it was any of these, but it was some of the ones we're going to have a look at in just a minute, which are like later A format books. So when the Yellow Jackets finally ceased, they went into more traditional size paperbacks, the A formats. And I've got a pile of Saint ones in them, and they are all numbered as well. But I mean, that's absolutely fine, isn't it? I don't mind the Saint at all. It's they are what they are, really. A friend of mine, George, he was lucky enough to pick up a full set from the States of the Roger Moore Saint TV tie-ins, which have got a Roger Moore picture on the front, and I think they're particularly nice. And my friend George has got a great Saint collection, and I'm thinking, we're filming his Doctor Who stuff right now, but I'm thinking we have got plans to cover stuff like the Saint and some of his other ITC, maybe the Saint and William Tell would be one. Or was it Ivanhoe that Roger Moore was in? I think Roger Moore was in Ivanhoe, wasn't he? So it was an ITC series, certainly. Now that one I bagged up, but it's actually loose. I've done a rubbish job of that. Absolutely rubbish. So that's going to have to be unbagged. There we are. So take two on that one. What I hadn't pushed the book all the way to the bottom, so need to make sure the book is really tightly. The fold is really tightly over like that. So then that keeps it nice and square. Because that last one wasn't. Yeah, look at all the Saint books that they did. H. Rider, loads of Edgar Wallace. They're the ones I most sort of remember seeing in Yellow Jacket, is the Edgar Wallace books, I think. Now, although I don't collect him, I've got Edgar Wallace in Pan, and I think Pan actually did some really quite nice editions of him. And he was an author I used to dismiss as like being really old-fashioned, which admittedly the books are, best part, well, they are 100 years old now, the Edgar Wallace, but they're actually pretty good. And he was a great writer, if not a very good businessman. So I don't mind Edgar Wallace now. I found out a bit more about him when I was reading the book that came out last year by Stephen Jones, about how Edgar Wallace wrote the original screenplay to King Kong, which became the King Kong movie of the 1930s. And he was behind that, and he moved to Hollywood in a way because he was desperate for the money. Eventually, he died before the film was actually made, so he never got to see his story come to life. But a lot of what he put in there was his work, basically, But yeah, quite an interesting chat. So, as you watch this one, which is sort of Saturday week as I film this, so I'm about a week ahead on my videos at the moment. There will have been last week a video on my main channel where I've gone through and bagged and audited my first sort of 90 door paperbacks. I filled up a whole box of paperbacks, a bit like today, and I took a bit of an audit on them about which ones were in need of an upgrade. And as you can imagine, there's quite a few, because a bit like these Yellow Jackets, the doors are famous for having yellow spines, and the spines themselves fade so easily. It's a bit of a hazard of collecting them, in actual fact, is the yellowing spines. So I put quite a few on the old wants list, but at the same time I've got the books to read, and that's the main thing, so. But these books here, once again, have been stored in the office, a little bit away from my main collection, and I wanted to get them back, because I've done a lot of what else is in the office now. Now, these are my A format Saint paperbacks, and they're pretty cool. These are Hodder and Stoughton again, but they're not Yellow Jackets. This is the later ones, so they changed. And these, as you can see, look a lot more like traditional, like Pan books. And I wonder if they actually started dating them. They do look like, I was going to say, like 1957, this edition. First published in 45, a third in 53. This edition, which is reset, and it will have a different cover, 1957. So all I'm going to do with these, once again, because they've been on the shelf for a bit of time, just give them a cursory dust, because as you can see, they have picked up a little bit of dust. But they have, I'm certain, all been cleaned. And a lot of these were actually donated by a viewer who was a Saint fan. Saw I had a few, and graciously gifted me some, so that's really good. Now these, of course, just go in ordinary paperback bags. So I'm going to take all of these out, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be using the whole lot today. Now, a few people have got in touch because these paperback bags, and I always recommend people head off to Amazon. Amazon are out of them. They haven't got any stock left, and they say literally, we don't know when we're going to get some more. But thankfully, my friend Dorset Bob has got some in, and Dorset Bob has taken it upon himself to become an importer of these paperback bags. And I thought that's a bit of a tight squeeze. He's now an importer of these paperback bags, and these are the same brand. This is what they called it, BCW paperback bags. And Bob is cheaper. He's only £9.99 for 100. Whereas Amazon were working out about £11 or £12. Admittedly, so £9.95 for 100, and postage, if you say bought 200 off him, is only £2, which is pretty good. Now this one is a little bit the worse for wear, and also is much thicker. So I'm just wondering if it'll actually fit in a paperback bag or not. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Is he going to go in? Oh yes, just. That was borderline. Actually, I've actually marked that bag there a little bit, but I think it's okay. It's okay. It's going to be all right. I don't want to waste the bag. Certainly since each bag is about 10p each. But when you think 10p for a bag that's going to save a book from getting damaged, I think it's a small price to pay, really, isn't it? Although I take great care with my bags, at the same time, accidents happen, don't they? And I feel much happier with the books that I've got bagged up. And then they're one step away from being boxed up because I'm getting things ready long term. Books that I've shown on the channel, and I've cleaned them and I've bagged them, and all of that has been recorded. They're going to go into, in effect, long-term storage. They're still staying with me, but they're not going to be shelved. They're going to be boxed up, ready for the library, fully catalogued, indexed and filmed, so I know exactly what's in each box. But at the same point, it will create a bit more room for me to do some more sorting, and also get rid of some of my other stuff, which I very much intend getting shot of before I next move house. By that I mean some of the toys and things like that, and it does require a bit of room to work, as it were. Right, this is the last of the A format Saints. There we are. So let's go back and bag them up, and these will just have the 2 bits of tape on because they're more modern, and that's all they need. And boy oh boy, don't they look lovely. I really do like these Hodder ones. They're a bit of a change from the Pan ones. I like the Pan Saint books, don't get me wrong. I think some of them are definitely better than others, cover jacket wise. That one's interesting. It's got a photo jacket, But I've got to admit, I am looking forward to seeing my friend George's Roger Moore Saint set. I think there's about 8 or maybe 10, all with different Roger Moore stills on the front of him as Simon Templar. I think that'll be really good to see. And of course, this has got an advert on the back for the Saint Mystery Magazine. Now, that was a digest, which I believe Leslie Charteris contributed the odd story to over the years. But yeah, today's video with regards to what we're bagging is definitely a bit of a mishmash, but I'm sure you don't mind. It's just the way some of these are shelved, that's all. I know I'm overdue to do another vintage penguin bagging video. I mean, I really must do that. So I promise that'll be the next couple of videos. I'll do penguins 101 to 200. I'll get those all bagged up. But I know those early ones are going to need digest bags, and I don't have that many digest bags. I need to get some more. So I'll be waiting for Dorset Bob to get some in before I do the next batch of penguins. Plus, I've actually upgraded one just recently. I think number 126. So I want to swap that one out as well. But these are going swimmingly. I think it's a better way of doing it. So bag a few up, and then have a little taping session where we can admire the great covers on these. These are all late 50s, early 60s. This particular one of Hodder editions. nice one, that. The Dame on the front. And the last one of these, the Saint on Guard. There we are. Right, that's that pile. Now I've got some more of these, believe it or not. I've still got some more to do. So just stack them up there, and we'll get the last of these Saint books, which is these ones here. So this takes us right up to date. So we'll just give these a brush, like so. Get these 5 bagged up. These are all in sort of date order, so you are seeing them chronologically, as it were. And I remember that one's got a little bit cut out there. Look at that on the back. Slightly unusual. Don't know how that happened. It wasn't me, of course. I promise, Governor. But it does make it a little bit harder to get him in the bag. But we've got it there. Yes, and then that cut out of that. And I'm not sure why, but we will never know because it wasn't me. I don't know who did that cut. But I mean, apart from that, the book's really, really nice, isn't it? So I'm not going to get shot of it. I said this is a really, as the Saint goes, this is only a very, very small selection of the Saint books. I mean, I've got these, and as I said, I've got the ones that Pan published. So I've got most of the Saint novels, but there is over 100. And I haven't got any of the Saint Mystery magazine, although I have had a couple through my hands over the years, but I never kept them. They were like a digest. That's a nice jacket, that one, with the detail on the newspapers there, isn't it? Huh, that's really good. Ace in Ace, look at that. Over 8 million sold in British edition, 8 million in American, and 5 million in the French editions. Now I'm trying to think, Leslie Charteris himself wasn't French, although his name sounds French. Wasn't he from somewhere a little bit more exotic? I'm trying to think. Weirdly, something in me says he lived in Honolulu or something like that, you know? Anyway, that is definitely the end of my Saint books now, so that's super cool. Next, we're going to move on to a vintage publisher, Chevron. Okay, so these are my Chevron paperbacks, and these are a bit of a mishmash, I can tell you. Definitely they're not the best looking of books, I can tell you that. They weren't very well made, and they don't have very many redeeming features, including the authors that they published. So, but these were quite dusty. However, they were one of those publishers that I feel obliged to keep simply because they were so close to Penguin, and they were very much released as a Penguin competitor, in all honesty. But I don't go out my way to pick them up. These are all ones that have just come my way as a book collector. You know, look at the dust coming off them. Yeah, as a book collector, I've had a few come my way and I've decided to keep them. But I am by no means a massive fan. Now, size-wise, I suspect that some of these will go in paperback bags, and some, like that one for example, and some may have to go in the digest ones, but I've got both on standby. So this one looks okay, normal paperback bag wise. And these are the sort of books that really will benefit from being bagged up like this because they're very delicate. Here's a very early example of lamination. So that book wasn't laminated. This one still has the original plastic laminate on the back. And if you look at the list, like Chevron book number 1 was Grand Hotel by Vicky Baum. That was a title that Pan Books picked up. So I wonder if they, because Chevron weren't around that long, and then they sort of disappeared. And as so many of these publishers did, as soon as war came along, they just couldn't get the paper. And because they didn't have massive sales pre-war, they didn't get much of a paper allowance like, say, for example, Penguin did, who had massive pre-war sales. So their paper allowance was really high. Amazingly, that went in. So I wonder if this one will as well. This is another one that became a pan. Constant Nymph. This does look a little bit tight. Is it going to do it? No, I don't think we want to risk that anymore because it might damage it. So we'll pop that in a digest, I think. I thought that might be the case. It's in a dust wrapper as well, so that's probably why. It's a little bit fanned, as it were. Whereas this one looks a tiny bit tighter. It's a better copy. This is another one that became a Penguin, Carnival by Compton Mackenzie, but also too tight for a regular paperback bag. Typhoon. Well, I'm going to try it again. Nah, there's no chance. No chance. You can just feel it's too thick. So into a digest it goes. Like so. That one is a bit wide, but it's not as thick, so it might fit in. Yeah, look at that. Quite a dirty, grubby paperback that with quite a bit of spine roll, but and this is a wartime one, which once again I think will be fine in a paperback bag. And that'll be the only thing keeping it from falling to bits, really. Here we are. So that's my Chevron collection. Not the sort of thing to set the world on fire, but at the same time, quite vintage and definitely worthy of being bagged up simply because of their nature, and it's just given them that extra level of protection that they definitely deserve, you know. Don't know a lot about Chevron, to be honest. I don't know if they did any services editions. Certainly wouldn't be surprised if they did. Most publishers seem to have done a few, even the small ones, you know. It's in the digest bag. Interesting that they went to the different colours. Once again, mocking Penguin, or imitating Penguin, I should say, not mocking them, but definitely imitating them. They didn't at least choose a bird for their name, a bit like, you know, some of the others. But it's interesting that they obviously couldn't have sold very well, because I would have come across more in my sort of paperback collecting career, really, you know. But it looks like they, I mean, number wise, yeah, it's over 100. So, you know, it's an achievement for some, isn't it? You know, to even reach 100 books. Conrad. A few like classics here, isn't it? You know, Joseph Conrad there, and this is a Jack London. Get these bags to be really tight. There we are. So that was Chevron Books. Next we got Alfred Hitchcock and the Three Investigators. Right, once again, because these have been on the shelf a little bit of time, I'm going to just give them the brush over. But these aren't ancient like those last books we've been looking at, so I don't foresee them being horrifically bad, but they may have picked up a little bit of dust. And then, as I said, we've got the those weird 70s photo novels to do, and I think they've never been actually cleaned properly, so they'll benefit. But there we are. So that's the Three Investigators books. Now, these are all of a size which will fit in regular paperback bags, so we're not going to have any trouble here, because these first got published in 1967. And then they went on until the early 90s. I have only collected the ones that I had as a kid with a very particular jacket. These ones published by Armada. So I'm going to slide them into the bags. We'll see them up, then we have a little look through them, each one, as we bag them up. But they are very, very nice. And the stories themselves were, it was three young sort of teenage boys, and they would just go out and solve mysteries, basically. You know, there they are, like Jupiter Jones, Pete Crenshaw, and Bob Andrews. They were the three investigators in question. And the Alfred Hitchcock tie-in was that when the series started in the 60s, Alfred Hitchcock was still a very, very big name. And he appears in the first book, and sort of the boys enter a competition, and the prize was to meet Alfred Hitchcock. And I think Alfred Hitchcock saw what they were into and lent them like a chauffeur-driven car, so they could go around and solve all their mysteries. It's quite a good thing. And I said the series ran for an awful long time, and I certainly loved them when I was growing up. The stories were great, some better than others. Some I will go back and reread again and again and again because they were so good. But yeah, when I started getting back into paperback collecting, I knew this was a series that I wanted to get sooner rather than later. And there are some real hardcore collectors of this series. particularly the hardback first editions. They're very sought after. The series carried on, I believe, in Europe, possibly in Germany only. That was the first one, Terror Castle. Yeah, first published in 1967 in hardback, and the paperback was 1970. I said I started reading them about 77, but these were the original jackets. The jackets changed and got more modern as I was reading them. You know, as I was working my way through the series, the jackets got updated, and when I recollected them, I only went for the jackets I loved more as a kid, which are these painted ones, rather than the slightly different design ones that came a bit later. I was more a fan of these, really. Not quite sure what my cut-off point is. I think it's like book 22 or something like that. So, need some more bags here. Thankfully, regular paperback bags, I have a nice wedge on standby. My digest bag stock, though, is a little bit low. So, I'm waiting for Bob to give me the heads up that he's had some more in. There we are. Let's get these bagged up. And somehow I've managed to get them completely out of order, but we don't mind. That's book 13. I'm not sure who the artist was. It's completely different artwork in the UK on these Omard editions to what they had in America. And in America, I think the hardbacks had a much longer shelf life than they did over here, in actual fact, you know. But there's not many children's book series that I collect like that. I've got these, I've got the Doctor Who. You could say the early ones were definitely aimed at children, not the later ones, of course. My Puffin book collection as well, you know, they're all aimed at youngsters. One regret I had is that I collected Puffin long before I had kids of my own. And although, you know, they both enjoy reading, they've not got the passion for it like I had, because times have changed so much and there's so many more distractions for a youngster today. Oh, these are really looking great, actually, in their bags. They really are. I said eventually I want to bag everything up, so it all has to be done. Obviously, numbering the books was a stroke of genius. And yeah, that made it essential to try and get them all, didn't it? 21 there. Yeah, so I think I might actually be missing one of these that I never actually got around to getting in the original jacket, because this is number 22, and I think, oh no, 23. So yeah, I think I must have them all. At the time when I first filmed these, which was 5 years ago on my main channel, a local chap to me, actually, same city as me, got in contact and said, oh, by the way, did you know, there is like one or two more that you're missing? And he actually helped me track them down. So let's see, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, he actually tracked them down for me on eBay. So I was able to get the last ones I needed, which was jolly good of him. So Ian, if you're watching, thank you very much. I hope you're well. So we're counting down now. This is number 12, back to number 1. Damn, remember these so well. It was a bit like an adult Scooby-Doo in a funny sort of way. Certainly the early ones are a bit like that. But they do get much more sophisticated as time goes on. I don't believe the books are in print in the UK any longer, but I'm certain they are available as ebooks. So you can get them in PDF, but you can't, sort of as an ebook. But a physical book, I don't think, not even on print on demand, they're just not out there anymore. And they have become quite collectible. As I said, the hardbacks much more than the paperbacks. And I have a couple of hardbacks that were gifted to me by a viewer up in my collection, but they're not part of the paperback runs. So that's why they're not here with these, really. Bit overzealous on the tape front there. And then book number 1. So we worked our way back to book number 1. Excellent stuff. So the last thing we've got to look at, and I want to give these the once over with regards cleaning as well, is the vintage 1970s photo novels. So let me dig those out now. Right, so photo novels, yes. Some are going to be better than others. This one, yeah, it is what it is. I don't think there's nothing I can really do on this. The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's really just given the once over, make sure there's no prices inside, things like that. This is quite a sought after one, the Grease one. These were so of their time, weren't they? This is probably the easiest one to get. Close Encounters. Fantastic, fantastic film. Love it. It's all right. Actually, this is the most sought after one, the Lord of the Rings one. Yeah, this is it. This was the Lord of the Rings animated, where they just did the first book. What a shame they never did the rest of them. This is perhaps one of the most forgettable ones, Heaven Can Wait. Don't know much about this. I don't think I've ever seen the film. Ice Castles, this is that one which had Lynn Holly Johnson, who went on to be the James Bond girl in For Your Eyes Only. You probably recognise her. A blonde girl. It was all right. The Champ. This This one's looking a little bit the worse for wear. I've never really gone out to try and update these or get better copies of them. I should really. Yeah, that's going to benefit from a bit of a polish in a minute. Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, I've never actually cleaned these. That's a nice copy of that. Americanization. Once again, another slightly forgettable one. This is a different series. Can't Stop the Music. Huh. Love at First Bite. This one's pretty ropey as well. That one's all right. The Hulk. Mork and Mindy, like that one's got a sticker on from my shop, and one inside, which I shall keep on for nostalgic reasons. And the last one is Nightwing. Okay, well look, they're not great, but actually they didn't seem too dusty. But I'm certain I've never cleaned these. Yeah, they weren't too bad dust-wise, but a couple of them I feel did need a bit of a polish. So get that well impregnated. Get this over here, like so. And we'll give these a polish. And then we'll get them bagged up. Can't do much with grease. I think when I do my the editing of this video, the ones I'm going to update will be grease. That'll be one I'm going to put on the wants list, but it's expensive. And it's got worse since Olivia Newton-John passed away, sadly. She was very much loved, and that's a great book on grease. It's the best book on grease they ever did. That one's absolutely fine. Nice copy of that. So I'm going to put Rocky on the list as well. The first two Rocky films. In fact, I'd say the first three are excellent. 4 not quite as good, but first two are just brilliant. But yeah, Rocky 1 and 2. Put that one on the old wants list. The upgrade list. This one's absolutely fine. Don't have much Battlestar Galactica. In fact, this is probably the only Battlestar Galactica thing I have in my collection. I've had a few other figures through my hands over the years. Yeah, these have definitely not been cleaned like we usually do. Yeah, I've had a few of the figures when I had the shop, and we had the adaptation was quite common, Yep, the Champ, put that on the upgrade list. Yeah, it's a rough old copy of that one. I mean, it's almost fit for the bin, but I can't imagine it's expensive. There are a couple that I'm missing, definitely, and there are some large format ones which I've got. Alien. They did one for Outland as well, which is the Sean Connery film. Which I don't have. But I have got the Alien one. Okay. There we are. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. Thankfully, my Lord of the Rings one is not too bad condition, because I'm pretty sure that this one and Greece are probably the most expensive ones to buy nowadays, you know. Lord of the Rings simply for the Tolkien connection. And, well, Greece because of what we just said, you know, it's always been sought after, that one. So this wasn't quite exclusively bagging, was it? It was a bit of cleaning as well, but we don't mind. Small community ones, a bit beaten up, but not so much that I want to get another one. I'll let it go, you know. And particularly since it's got a sticker on a mild shop. Have to leave that on there. Got Lou Ferrango there. Yeah, this one's beaten up as well, so we're going to put Love at First Bite on my upgrade list. Can't imagine that's going to be hard to find or expensive. Yeah, I think those few books definitely benefited from a clean. Now we'll just whip them into some paperback bags. To give them the extra level of protection. Which I believe they need. A few more bags required. Look at that. One bag short, would you believe it? I know two. Two more required. Right, let's get my tape sealing these down. Oh. These are actually very thin little books. You know, you could almost be tempted to steal them over, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to, A format I tend to just leave as is. I'm not going to go the extra hog on those, even though these are quite narrow. See, even the worst ones look quite nice in the pack, don't they? They don't look as bad as they did outside of it. But at least we're doing this with the knowledge that they're as clean as they possibly can be. Just slide around a bit though, these books, because they're slightly heavier than regular paperbacks. All that colour inside, of course, isn't it, you know? So there we are. I'm trying to think what we got next week. I believe it's some vintage pan. I think it's a vintage pan cleaning video planned. And we are getting quite near the end of the pan collection. I don't know how many videos we got to go, maybe a few, but we're almost there. Maybe less than that, maybe 2. And we would have done amazingly. We would have done all the pan videos in my collection, all the pan books. However, I haven't started bagging the pans yet, and that'll probably be the last stage, really. Quite a bit of I haven't bagged any pan at all, so I think certainly bagging the first numbered series has got to be a priority. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. It's been a bit of a variety. If you have, do please give it that thumbs up. If you've not already, do please hit the subscribe button for regular vintage paperback content. And I'll be back in 7 days with another video. Bye.